The woman my husband hired to help me gave birth to his child. I was lying in bed, healing from childbirth, weak, stitched, and barely able to walk. My husband said I needed help. So he brought another woman into our home. She cared for me like a sister, bathed me, prayed for me. But 8 months later she gave birth to a child that looks exactly like my husband. Now tell me, how do you heal from betrayal that deep? Pushpin, this story will shake you. So don't scroll, stay with me. Backhand index pointing right, like, share, and drop a comment if you've ever felt betrayed by someone close. Mobile phone with arrow, don't forget to subscribe for more real-life emotional stories like this one. Let's begin. I had just come out of surgery. The cesarean was complicated, and I nearly died on that operating table. 4 hours, I drifted in and out of consciousness, unsure if I was even alive. My husband, Kenneth, held my hand tightly, eyes bloodshot from crying. I remember him kissing my forehead and whispering, "You made it. God didn't take you. He heard my prayers." The nurses wheeled me into the private ward. My baby boy, Elisha, was placed beside me in a transparent cradle. Kenneth beamed as he introduced our son to me, but I was too weak to lift my hand. Recovery was slow. My body was broken. Stitches, swollen breasts, unbearable waist pain, and headaches that felt like thunder in my skull. I couldn't even sit properly. That was when Kenneth brought her. "Her name is Miriam," he said, stroking my hair. "She'll help take care of you and Elisha until you're strong again." I blinked at the girl standing at the foot of my bed. She was petite, dark-skinned with bright eyes and a shy smile. Dressed modestly, she looked around 23. She carried a baby bag and wore a scarf around her head. I was too weak to argue. Besides, Kenneth was already arranging a bed for her in the spare room. Miriam was perfect. Too perfect. From the very first day, Miriam showed me kindness I didn't expect from a stranger. She massaged my swollen feet without being asked. She boiled warm water and carefully cleaned my stitches. She cooked without salt because she noticed my blood pressure was high. She never spoke unless spoken to and refused to let me feel like a burden. Kenneth was relieved. He could now return to work full-time while Miriam managed the home. Sometimes I would wake up in the middle of the night and find her breastfeeding Elisha. "Yes, Ma," she'd say. He was crying. "I didn't want to wake you. I should have said something. I should have insisted she let me feed my own baby. But I was still too tired, still too grateful that someone cared. I didn't know that every little thing she was doing was carefully calculated." The subtle changes I ignored. By the 3rd month, I began to notice that Kenneth and Miriam had grown too familiar. He no longer greeted her like a maid. He greeted her like a friend. "Good morning, Mims," he once said, laughing as she offered him hot tea. Mims. Who gave her a nickname? Then there were the little things. How they avoided eye contact when I walked into the kitchen. How she laughed a little too hard at his jokes. How he suddenly started showering at odd hours during the day. My suspicions grew when I overheard a conversation I was not meant to hear. The whisper behind the door. One Saturday morning, I woke up early and didn't find Kenneth beside me. I assumed he was in the living room watching football. But something made me pause when I walked past the spare room. The door was slightly open. "If she finds out, it's over," Kenneth said in a hushed tone. "Then let's be careful," Miriam replied. "I don't want to be sent away." Froze. My hand trembled on the wall. What were they hiding? I didn't enter. I didn't say anything. I returned to the room, shaking. Tears filled my eyes. My baby was beside me, sucking his fingers. I looked at him, then at the ceiling, trying not to believe what I was already feeling in my bones. The positive pregnancy test. For months after I returned from the hospital, I found a used pregnancy strip in the bathroom trash. 2 red lines. Miriam had been throwing up lately, saying it was malaria. But this confirmed my fear. I confronted her that evening after Kenneth left. "Miriam, are you pregnant?" She froze. Her lips parted, but no words came out. I stepped closer. "Who got you pregnant?" She opened her mouth. then broke down in tears, sinking to her knees. "It was a mistake, Ma. Swear. I didn't mean to. I didn't plan to. It just happened." I couldn't speak. My voice disappeared. I leaned against the doorframe and felt my knees weakening. I whispered, "Is it Kenneth's child?" Her silence was the answer. Kenneth's confession. When Kenneth returned from work, I sat him down. "Miriam is pregnant," I said. "Is it your child?" He went pale. For the first time in 7 years, I saw the man I married cry like a boy. "It was once," he said. "I was weak. You were so sick. I thought I was going to lose you, and I didn't know how to deal with it. I made a mistake. She came to check on me. I didn't plan it." He knelt down, begging, crying, holding my waist. I was too stunned to even slap him. "This wasn't just betrayal. It was destruction. The girl you brought into my home. The girl you asked me to trust. The girl who bathed me naked and held my child. Now she carried your child too." I was the last to know. Everyone in the estate must have known. The security man, the neighbor's maid, the driver. They all knew. But I was the last to know. I was the wife. The one in the bed. The one who nearly died. The day Miriam went into labor, everything stopped. Kenneth refused to take her to the hospital. He begged me to let him call someone else. But I insisted. "Take her," I said coldly. "The baby is already yours. You should be there." He hesitated, ashamed. But he obeyed. I stayed home with my son, Elisha, rocking him in silence, staring at the ceiling like a woman whose soul had left her body. Miriam returned the next day, carrying a baby girl. Everyone in the estate came to see her, some in whispers, some pretending it was all normal. The driver smiled sheepishly. Our neighbors brought baby clothes. I watched them pretend nothing happened. I watched them touch the baby's cheek and say, "She looks just like her father." I wanted to scream. The baby looked exactly like Kenneth. Or so we thought. The first thing I noticed was the nose, long and slightly hooked. Kenneth's nose was round. Then the ears, small and flat. Kenneth had big protruding ears. The baby's eyes were almond-shaped, slightly slanted, almost Asian in look. I ignored it at first. Babies change features. But something in my gut whispered, "This child is not Kenneth's." The blood type revelation. 2 weeks later, the baby developed jaundice and had to be taken back to the hospital. Kenneth was out of town, so Miriam begged me to go with her. I didn't want to, but something in me said go. The nurse ran tests. Then she frowned. "Wait, what's the father's blood group?" she asked. "Oh, positive," I replied on behalf of Kenneth. "Same as mine." She double-checked the results. "Then this baby's blood group makes no sense. She's AB negative." My heart stopped. I asked her to run the test again. She did. Same result. I stared at Miriam, who suddenly refused to meet my eyes. The truth breaks open. At home, I waited for Kenneth to return. When he did, I handed him the report silently. He read it, blinked, read it again. This can't be." I turned to Miriam. "Tell us who the real father is." She started crying again. "I didn't mean to lie. I just didn't want to lose my job. I didn't want to go back to the village." Kenneth shouted, "Who got you pregnant?" She fell to her knees. "It was your cousin, Maxwell. Maxwell had visited us briefly 3 months ago and stayed in the boys' quarters. He forced me," Miriam whispered. "He said if I talked, I'd be sent away." Kenneth stood there frozen. His jaw clenched. His fist shook. I felt everything at once. Rage, betrayal, grief, disbelief. I had hated my husband for a child that wasn't even his. The cousin from hell. Maxwell had always been trouble. A failed footballer who floated from house to house, using charm to get by. Kenneth had tried to help him by letting him stay in our compound for a week. Apparently, he stayed in Miriam's room at night when we thought he was in the BQ. Kenneth called the police. But Maxwell was already gone, fled the state 2 days before. Now what do I do with Miriam? Kenneth turned to me with bloodshot eyes. Do we send her away? I stared at him. She betrayed me. Lied to both of us. But she was also a victim. You brought her into our home. You failed to protect me, and her. He couldn't respond. I said nothing more. I walked into my room and locked the door. Public humiliation. 3 days later, the story hit social media. Someone in the estate leaked it to a gossip page. Wife hires maid to assist after childbirth. Maid ends up pregnant by husband's cousin. Our pictures were blurred, but the story spread like wildfire. My business page lost over 3,000 followers in 48 hours. My church sent a letter asking Kenneth to step down from his position temporarily. Even our son's school sent a note. We are concerned about the family situation. I was now a public victim. Kenneth was now a disgraced husband. And Miriam? She quietly packed her bags and left the house. She didn't say goodbye. She left the baby behind. Left with a child that wasn't mine. I didn't want to hold her. I didn't want to feed her. I didn't want to look at her. But something in me couldn't ignore her soft cries. She didn't ask to be born. She didn't ask to be the result of betrayal and lust. She was just a baby. So I picked her up and held her against my chest. She stopped crying. And for the first time since everything fell apart, I cried instead. Kenneth changed, but was it too late? He stopped going to work. He cooked. He cleaned. He apologized every single day. I failed you, he kept saying. If I could turn back time, I would have never brought her in. But you did, Kenneth. You did. And now we were stuck in the ruins. My breaking point. One Sunday, I was dressing for church when I heard Elisha screaming from the living room. I ran out to find him holding the baby. Not properly. She was slipping from his grip. Kenneth had stepped out to answer a phone call. I grabbed both kids and sat on the floor, shaking. That's when I realized I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't raise someone else's child and keep pretending I was okay. I couldn't live in a house where betrayal had soaked every wall. I needed to leave. The letter I left behind. I wrote it at 2 a.m. Kenneth, I love you. But I'm bleeding inside. I forgive you. But I need time to heal far away from this house, from this story. I'm leaving with Elisha. I pray you raise the baby right. I can't pretend I'm her mother. Maybe one day I'll return. But for now, let me breathe. Packed one suitcase. Took my son. Left the baby asleep in her cot. 3 months later, I moved in with my sister in another city. Peace at last. But peace has a cost. I missed my home, my garden, my kitchen, even my old bed. Kenneth called every day begging. But I didn't answer. Then one day I received a letter. From Miriam. Miriam's final words. I didn't know how to love. I grew up with men using me. I thought if I could stay close to a good man's house, I'd become better. But I broke your trust. Broke your home. I left the baby with you because I knew you'd raise her with love. Sorry. If you ever forgive me, please tell her the truth when she's grown. She deserves it. I'm going far away. But I'll always pray for your peace. I read it twice. Then held my son close. This world is too messy to stay bitter. I hadn't spoken to Kenneth in over 3 months. I had not returned his messages, nor answered the desperate calls. He sent photos of the baby, her first tooth, her first smile, her tiny hand holding his thumb. Each image felt like a wound reopening. How could I love a child that was never mine? That child symbolized every lie I endured. Still, I could never bring myself to block him. Until one day he called again. Not to beg, not to apologize, but to beg me to come quickly. She's in the hospital, he said, voice cracking. The baby, she's sick. Critically sick. The doctor said she needs a bone marrow transplant. My heart sank. I wasn't supposed to care. But I did. I dropped everything and traveled home. When I arrived at the hospital, I found Kenneth seated in the waiting area, face buried in his palms. His eyes were swollen from crying. I didn't ask anything. I walked into the ward and saw the child. She looked pale, so fragile. Tiny tubes were taped to her hands and chest. Monitors beeped in the background. The doctor entered quietly. "Are you family?" he asked. "I was," I said softly. "What's going on?" The doctor sighed. "She has severe aplastic anemia. Her bone marrow has stopped producing blood. We need a matching donor." He nodded. "So take Kenneth's." The doctor shook his head slowly. "We tried. He's not a match." The devastating twist. "What do you mean he's not a match?" Yes. The doctor hesitated. "His blood group doesn't align at all. We also ran paternity confirmation through the database. Kenneth is not biologically related to the child." I turned to Kenneth. He looked as shocked as I was. "No," he whispered. "She told me. She told both of us it was Maxwell's child." The doctor frowned. "Whoever told you that lied. The child's biological father is someone else entirely." I leaned on the wall. I felt the hospital spin. Kenneth, the man I nearly divorced, the one who had begged for forgiveness, wasn't even the father. He had been raising someone else's child too. The stranger who showed up. 2 days later, the nurse called us to the reception. A man had shown up. Tall, light-skinned, late 30s, well-dressed in a black shirt and fitted jeans. He looked like someone who had money and secrets. "I'm here for the girl," he said. "I'm her father." Kenneth stepped forward. "Who are you?" The man handed over a letter. It was from Miriam. "This is the truth I couldn't say before. The real father is Pastor Edwin. He forced himself on me when I was desperate and seeking counseling. I was ashamed. I was afraid no one would believe me. So I lied. Sorry. But if the baby ever needs help, contact him. He is the only one who can save her." Kenneth read it, then handed it to me. It was numb. Pastor Edwin. Our former family pastor. A man we once trusted. The same man who prayed over my womb when I couldn't conceive. The man who dedicated Alicia when he was born. Was now revealed as the secret father of a child born through betrayal. The hidden evil in the pulpit. Kenneth nearly punched the man. But the hospital staff separated them. I demanded a DNA test. Came back 99.9% match. He was the father. He agreed to donate bone marrow. When the surgery was done and the child stabilized, he disappeared, never to return. Now what? We were left with a child, whose existence was born from layers of lies. First Kenneth's presumed betrayal. Then Maxwell's alleged abuse. And finally, the truth. A powerful man's sin hidden under the cloth of religion. And yet, the child had done nothing wrong. She had no idea what storm her birth caused. She smiled when we entered her room. She clapped when music played. She called me Ma when I walked in and stretched her arms toward me. I didn't know when tears fell from my eyes again. I had been so angry at her, so wounded by her presence. But somehow, she had found her way into my heart. The breaking and healing. I stayed. I helped Kenneth care for her. No one asked me to. I just did. Weeks turned to months. And slowly, like morning dew clearing after a storm, my heart healed. 1 year later, we had moved to a new city. No one knew our story here. Kenneth and I started attending therapy. It wasn't easy. Trust doesn't grow back in a day. But we were trying not for marriage but for peace. I started journaling. I started sharing stories anonymously. My pain became a platform. One of my stories went viral. Then another. Soon a publishing company reached out. And that's how I began writing for women like me. Broken but breathing. I thought my story ended the day I discovered the truth. That the woman my husband brought into our home gave birth to a child. And the child wasn't even his. Felt like the world closed in on me. I was broken, humiliated, and betrayed by everyone I trusted. But guess what? I didn't stay broken. Rose. Because strength isn't about pretending you're fine. It's about fighting through the tears, standing back up, and choosing to heal even when your heart is bleeding. If life has ever hit you with betrayal, heartbreak, or shame, I want you to remember this. You are not your pain. You are not their mistake. You are not the story they tried to write for you. You are the author now. I'm not here today as a victim. I'm here as a woman who survived the storm and came out with a voice to speak for others. So if you're watching this and your heart feels heavy, just know healing is possible. Joy is still ahead. And yes, you too can start again. If this story touched you, please don't leave without dropping a comment. Share your thoughts below. Someone else might need your words to heal too. Like this video, follow the page, and subscribe if you believe that no pain lasts forever. And turn on notifications, because more real, powerful stories are coming your way. Your healing journey might just begin with one story.